Hi, everybody. Tracy Starkroth with Thrive Meetings and Events and Eating at a Meeting. We are live today with my friend, Kathy Hester, and I can call you my friend. I've met you multiple times now, online and in person, right? She is a plant-based,
Absolutely.
yes, she is a plant-based chef, cooking instructor, author of 11 cookbooks. I met her in person the first time when I took a class on how to produce a show live, on the internet, because she does it all the time. So we're here to learn from the expert in all things plant-based, as well as potentially cooking classes. Hi, Kath.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. And we both live in North Carolina. So I got my little North Carolina sign here.
Aww, that's so cute. Yeah, I'm in Durham, North Carolina.
Okay.
And it is getting hot again. So I feel like I don't live in Durham, North Carolina, but
yeah.
Hey.
It's kind of crazy. They said it's going to be like the hottest week of the month or the year this week.
I think it's just, I'm a fall person. In fact, I'm drinking my little tea out of my Haunted Mansion cup. So I am like Halloween girl. So it's September 1st happened. And I'm like, Halloween. So I am very sad that it's warm, but I'm going to start decorating.
Oh, well, Target, I'm sure, has the decorations up already for Halloween. I haven't noticed.
We do a giant sit-down multi-course dinner party in the past. We won't be doing it. We may be doing it on Zoom, actually. So we may be inviting people from my blogs to come and join in because we decorate the whole house.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
It is cool.
Okay, so we're here today to talk about plant-based eating. And what does that mean? So I got hair all over my face. Tell everybody what, because there's plant-based, there's vegetarian, there's pescatarian, there's reducitarian, there's vegan, there's lacto-ovo vegetarian. Can you talk about it all?
Sure. And I always kind of label myself as like the non-judgmental vegan. So okay. You can ask me these questions and I'm not going to just yell at you about what you're doing. We can just talk about it like normal people because, I became vegetarian in 1983. So I stopped eating meat then, but I still ate dairy and eggs. And then it's probably been about 8 or 9 years now that I've been vegan. So the difference between vegetarian and vegan is that vegans don't do any kind of dairy, any kind of eggs. There's still no meat or gelatin, things that come from things like that, or fish. Vegetarians will do honey. Vegans do not do honey. And then there's this whole other group, because people think of vegans and plant-based as being the same thing.
Okay.
And they have some similarities. So if you're a meat eater, vegetarians and vegans have some similarities, right? Because they don't eat meat. So plant-based people tend to come towards it from health. So there are a lot of heart doctors out there who recommend going meatless and dairyless and eggless for health reasons. So typically plant-based people come from that. And plant-based people don't eat Oreos. Oreos are vegan. They don't have any dairy. They don't have any meat. They don't, a long time ago, you couldn't eat Oreos because they had lard in them. So when I was a vegetarian, there was a time that Oreos were not that, but now they are. So vegans, and I consider myself kind of vegan plant-based. I'm a mix. I came to it because I didn't want to eat animals. Your views are yours, and I'm not trying to press that on you at all. So I kind of came at it from that view. And then I thought, well, being healthier is a good thing, right? And so, cutting out sugar and fat and things like that. So some plant-based people are even on like something called an SOS diet, which is no sugar, oil, or salt.
Okay.
Again, and that's not everyone. There's variations in vegan and variations in plant-based. But what you'll find is plant-based people are going to eat healthier. So it's very interesting that a lot of the meat alternative burgers right now are being called plant-based because, in fact, people who label themselves plant-based probably wouldn't eat them because they have they're kind of highly processed. They have a lot of oil in them and things like that. They're amazing for transitioning. They're amazing when you're in the middle of nowhere and it's, do I eat French fries again or can I have a veggie burger, right? So again, no judgments on that either. So that's what you're going to find with vegans and plant-based. And what's interesting is sometimes there can be infighting between the two groups.
Completely.
And so that's why I like to say that. And in fact, I was at a conference one time that the beef count, I don't know if it was the beef council, one of the beef councils or things, we're talking, and we're saying plant-based doesn't mean meatless.
Oh.
And I'm like, you're stealing a term from that already exists. So you can't do that. So that one did kind of piss me off. I'm okay if you just want to say eat less meat, eat more plant, because that's not confusing. So sometimes things confuse the issue a little bit. And like with vegetarians back in the day, like back in 1983, some people would not eat eggs or not eat dairy. And that's where you got the sub-vegetarian ones. And there are pescatarians, people who are basically vegetarian but add fish in as well.
Right.
And all different kinds of things. And I think we have to feel safe to build what's important for us at that moment, because I think a lot of it is adding new foods in, transitioning to new ways of eating and new recipes. And I think as we get older in general, we start thinking more about our health and start to get a little healthier.
Yeah.
I think
we do. And I live with my parents and who are 76 and 78. And my dad's been having some health issues, and the gastroenterologist is like, let's get off of dairy. Let's just try that, right? So we bought the So Delicious. I've been eating the So Delicious salted caramel ice cream bars and the salted caramel ice cream. It's made with cashew milk. Oh my God, it's so good.
Yeah, it's not like you would think they were. There's so many things like people. I say this a lot. So if I held out 2 apples to you and I said, do you want this apple or do you want the vegan apple? Everybody's going to pick the not vegan apple.
That is so true. That is really true. And I mean, the So Delicious ice cream bars are vegan, and we found a double chocolate, a chocolate with chocolate on it, and then the salted caramel. And then my mom, she bought the wrong kind the other day, but it was the coconut milk one with chocolate. And the two of them are like, these are good. So,
and you can even get vegan butter now. Like, and there's different things you can get, but honestly, so if you're transitioning, if your doctor says that you can't have dairy anymore, I think in that transition phase, it's really good to bring in some really yummy things that you may not want to eat every day after that. Like Miyoko's cultured vegan butter is amazing. And you can get it at Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's has a lot of...
In a lawsuit?
She did just win a lawsuit, and I'm super excited because they wanted to say that she couldn't say it was butter, and there were some other things that were on there. Yeah. But, I mean, it's delicious. And so my wife, Cheryl, just has been plant-based for about a year. I mean, and we've been together, I don't know, like 14 years. But
you know that.
Huh? I know I should know that. I should know when we got married too, but I'm that one. Put it on the calendar, honey. I'll do something nice. But so like having things like Beyond Burgers for people who are trying to eat less meat, because it's still a good way to get those cravings taken care of. And I think cravings are often under-respected. Right?
Oh, talk more about that.
So as I got older, so I had been meatless since I was 18 years old.
Oh, wow.
And so in my 30s, I started having these like memory cravings, right? So like I'm from Winston, we had barbecue. I wasn't missing the pork. I was missing the sauces.
That makes sense.
And so I do a lot of that, like in my cookbooks too, so we get to have these wonderful memory craving foods because it means something to us. I mean, sometimes it also is just stress. Like, I think COVID's brought out a little bit of our stress eating as a population. I know it didn't me. Perhaps there were too many crunchy things and too many ice cream bars in my life there for a while. But I think that it's important sometimes to let yourself have something else. So like if it's a craving, it's something that's important to you, like ice cream. Obviously, that was a super smart thing to do. Immediately bring in a substitute that meets all the requirements.
Right.
And then you're not going to feel like, oh, this is just horrible. This is doing, because it's really not hard to eat vegan or plant-based, should you make that choice. And I always tell people, because you can make the choice because of health, you can make the choice because of moral reasons, you can make the choice because of environmental reasons. And I don't care. I don't care why you made that decision. I just want you to keep it in mind while you're going through this process, because that's what's really going to mean the difference between you succeeding or failing.
Well, I love that, because in my sessions when I teach planners on different dietary restrictions, I say there are people like Bill Clinton who go vegan for health reasons,
plant-based.
And then his buddy Al Gore goes vegan for environmental reasons. And then Natalie Portman, I don't know if she knows them or not, but she's vegan for animal rights reasons, right? And so there's a variety of different, but we can't question that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I would never try to question or try to, and this is where the fighting happens. No, you're not vegan for the right reasons. You're not doing this for the right. Well, no, that's individual reasons. I don't care. Whatever my reason is and your reason, you're still meeting my hopeful goals for the future, right? If you go meet, I have people in my blog group or my private Facebook group who even identify as standard American diet eaters. I only do vegan recipe or vegan plant-based recipes, but I welcome everyone. Everyone can come play in the backyard with us.
That's awesome. And I think, and that's inclusion and belonging at the table. And I talk a lot about, eating brings us together. When you sit down and you break bread with people at a table, whether in an event table or your dining room table or your neighborhood picnic, it helps. And we should be welcoming everybody no matter what they eat. And actually, Chanel Jones from the Today Show, and I need to go find the quote from her. It was a commercial today, but they were talking about race. But she said, talking to her daughter, said, "Why I can't do a ponytail like that little blonde girl." And she's like, just, you can recognize the differences that you have, but know that it doesn't make you less of a person. And I think that goes along with this diet, dietary preferences and dietary needs as well.
I agree. And just me as a person, like I'm an inviter and includer. So like if I'm at a conference, as I'm meeting people, we end up usually in a gang, and if someone's coming to my dinner table and they have some special needs, like I had people that were gluten-free before I had to eat gluten-free. So of course I was going to cook, I'd make gluten-free buns for them if we were going to do, veggie burgers or something like that. Because what you want to do as a host is you want to recognize each of those people. I mean, there's certain limits to that, and it depends on what you can do. Like if you can't make your own buns, buy some buns, or you may have to do some label reading because things get hidden. Like you think, oh, bread, it's gluten-free, it's probably vegan. No, it's not. Chances are it is not. It has eggs in it. So you have to look or know a certain brand. But you can do all that research so quickly on the internet now. It's super easy. Yep. And I know that because it's been 2 years almost that I got diagnosed and I have a gluten intolerance. So I don't have celiac. It doesn't kill me or really make me sick, but it makes my joints swell. I have Graves' disease. So I have a little bit of an autoimmune disease. So we were noticing, and actually can kind of, I don't know if you can see from this camera. No, you can't, sort of. There's some places here and here that swell on me. Okay. If I have some weed or if I do things like that, and it's uncomfortable. Okay. And we also noticed that actually we cut my thyroid medicine in half. Really? In half. Because, so my thyroid, Graves' disease usually makes your thyroid overactive. And at 19, I drank radioactive iodine. So I've been taking it, which makes it underactive. Okay. So, but before that, I was taking it was like 16 pills a day to lower things. And I mean, I was young, so my heart, I woke up because my heart was beating so fast, something was wrong.
Wow.
And that was a very long time ago. I'm 55 now. So, and just 2 years ago, and she's like, well, maybe if we do this, we might be able to change your dosage. It might be a long time. We don't know. 2 months later, I'm like, I am not right. I don't know what's right. I am angry. I'm hungry. Like, it's just like hungry all the time. And it had been so long. And I talked to someone and I said, I think we need to test my thyroid. And she was like, oh my God,
Really?
Yeah. And I'm not saying this would happen to everyone, but she thought it could happen, and it really did. And to me, that really proved more than, well, it's just a little irritating.
Right.
Right. And coming off of gluten sucked.
Oh, it's very hard.
It was not nice. And which is interesting because I've been having gluten-free options in my recipes since the beginning.
Okay.
So I'm like, well, if it happens, at least I'm equipped. And I was not happy, and I was cleaning out my pantry, and I got very angry. And I also I'm so tired of because when you're talking about meetings and things, it's just so disappointing that I get the sorbet, or I'm the vegan. So I have the salad with nothing in it. I have a carrot cucumber salad.
Yep.
And I went to a conference several years ago, and I could eat gluten at that point, but yeah, they'd have a salad and a big slab of cake.
Yep.
And that's what they had every lunch. And every lunch I had no protein on it, or I would have just been happy to have some potatoes on there, something besides lettuce.
Exactly. Well, and it's fun. I got my mom, and she's probably going to kill me that I'm going to say this, but she made salad the other day, and she put croutons on it and Parmesan cheese. And I'm like, why do you need to do that? Put them on the side, and if somebody wants them, they can add them. And I'm like, because I don't want to pick the croutons out, and I didn't eat the salad because I'm like, Mom.
Right.
But, mm-hmm.
And people they just don't think. Right. And in fact, I didn't check a label on something because it was wrapped up into a pack of 5, and it was Meramite. The yeast extract. I was like, oh, and then so I finally unwrapped all the bubble wrap and stuff. I'm like, oh, wheat and barley.
Oh.
Now I have 5 of them to give away as gifts. Or I might just let my joints swell a little bit and put a little bit on toast and taste it first. Because I was very excited because the yeast extract gives such an umami flavor to things.
Mm-hmm. And that's my allergy, is yeast.
All yeast, including nutritional yeast?
Well, I don't like the flavor of that. And I know it adds that cheese flavor to vegan dishes, right? And I don't care for that flavor. So
I wonder if it's that you're a little bit allergic to it, if that might do it. Because I will tell you too, the evolution of my taste buds. So I remember eating vegan cheese, and vegan cheese is a different deal now. And if you're just for anyone, if anyone is just wanting to dip their toe, try Miyoko's. It costs as much as a really nice fine cheese, because it is like a fine cheese. And I actually had it at parties, and people were like, there's a nice one in ash and herbs, and there's a smoked farmer's cheese. There's they're really good. I don't know how much of that is with nutritional yeast, but I don't think they all are at all, since they're cultured for the flavor. But I remember getting some gravies or some cheese sauces that were vegan, and I was like, this is nasty.
Well, and there's a couple of conventions that I've been to, and you go and you find the vegan products, and a lot of them are getting certified vegan, but a lot of it's junk food. And even the vegan products have 25 to 30 ingredients in them. And I don't want to do that. When I'm eating that way, I eat 9 ingredients or less, and ones that I can say, not a bunch of malarkey.
Right. And there's something to say, so I agree with you. Yes, a lot of the products that are coming up now are I think of them again as transitional products. And I like me some hippies every once in a while. I get the little bags because all bags are single serving bags, right?
True.
So I get a little bit of the crunch and the goodness, but of course I don't want to eat a whole meal of those, but it is nice every once in a while. And you can crumble them on salads. You could do some stuff, they're gluten-free and they're vegan.
And what was the name of that again?
Hip peas.
Okay.
Tasty. I mean, there used to be a thing called Tings, Tings.
And
they're by the people who do Pirates Booty. And they are the most magical things ever. They're like Cheetos, like the fried Cheeto ones. They're better than all the rest, but they're almost impossible to find. We found them in Florida at a weird food co-op on vacation. And so we bought 4 vacation bags. It's like you would have thought we bought like, a big thing of vodka for vacation because everybody we were with had food allergies.
I just posted the wrong product.
Oh, did you? Is there something?
Yeah, that's actually a hair product for kids. Where did it go? Hippie. Okay, yeah, I found the right one.
Like peas, like the thing that you eat.
Well, no, the other one is spelled. This other one has a dash in it. So here's the right one.
Okay.
And it's hair products. Don't eat the kids' hair.
Let's don't eat that.
Yeah.
Let's just say no.
Right.
But I think one of the things you can do, so actually I made a barbecue spice blend. I make a lot of spice blends, and spice blends do have a bunch of ingredients to it. So I wanted it to taste a lot like Wise barbecue potato chips, because that's what I grew up on in Winston-Salem, was that particular barbecue flavor. And it has a little brown sugar in there. It has dried tomato powder. It's really yummy. And my friend Chef AJ, who has an even more restrictive diet, so they don't do any sugar or any salt, but sometimes they can use date sugar, so you could put some date sugar in there instead. You can leave the salt out entirely. And usually my blends have it optional because I'd rather have a really intense spice blend and then add the salt later.
Okay.
So you can really up it as far as you want. So like if you're making some Cajun dish and you're using Tony Chachere's and it's salted, you can only go so far, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're using an unsalted Cajun spice and then that, you really can kick up those flavors. Because a lot of times, especially people coming from the health side, they're like, okay, we're going to eat whole food, plant-based. And that means I can have cooked grains. I can have tofu tempeh, beans. I can have vegetables. And that's what they'll put on their plate. The end.
Right.
And I'm like, let's make a cauliflower queso to go on top of there. Or let's make a barbecue seasoning blend that we can sprinkle on it. So even if you want to keep your meals very simple, you can still allow yourself the enjoyment of flavor on these nutritional things.
I love that comment because flavor is what enhances the food. Okay, so we're talking about meetings. There's not a lot of meetings happening. Somebody posted a couple people posted pictures from some of small events that they've gone to in the last couple of weeks, and they're box lunches, or something like that. So, what can a meeting planner, have requests for a box lunch for a vegan besides a salad with carrots and cucumbers?
Right. So, and I can tell you this story. So I was at the Idaho Potato Commission blogger conference a few years ago. Okay. And I really rarely complain about any food, but I wanted to make sure they did not get charged for this box lunch. That's how horrible it was.
Oh, wow.
They literally gave me bread with one tiny piece of tomato and one piece of lettuce. That's what I got. With an apple and a little thing of potato chips. And like, you are not paying for this sandwich.
Wow.
Because it was not a sandwich. They could put some hummus on there. So like if you're not dealing, it's always kind of nice in a meeting setup if you can try and make things gluten-free and vegan. And I know it works well a couple of different ways. And I know the meat eaters who are gluten-free get mad and the vegans who aren't gluten-free sometimes get mad. I was one of them. Now I appreciate it more. But like if you could get it on gluten-free bread or to have two options, that would be great. Or so like you could do maybe like a Mediterranean platter with some hummus, a little, maybe red pepper hummus, baba ganoush, some olives, some carrot sticks, cucumbers, celery, and have some pita or not.
Okay.
I have it wrapped where I could take it out, or I could grab some extra veggies. That's awesome. And no one complains. Vegans are made out of hummus. That is what we live and breathe, and you cut us and we bleed out hummus. So it is the best and easiest default, and it's inexpensive.
Okay, so speaking of that, just hummus, my favorite hummus right now is Trader Joe's horseradish hummus. And I know I could make it, but it's only $2.99.
There's no shame in buying things. So even when I talk about things, I'm like, I have all the recipes where you can make everything homemade, but you can buy it. If you have a favorite, use it. And right now, I think it was Trader Joe's dill pickle hummus.
Oh, wow.
That had some flavor to it. And so, I mean, literally, if you're a meeting planner and maybe you have 4 vegans, you could go to Trader Joe's and just pick up a few things, even if you wanted to bypass some of the catering things and just have a little mini.
Worry about your food and beverage minimum. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying only instead, but like, let's say 2 out of 30 people, if they can do it, fine. But if they don't pay them to not do it.
Right. Oh my God. So true. Yes.
So I have no problem. And I know most places are really awesome, but if they make a mistake and I can't eat, you shouldn't pay for that. And you should make sure that you take it up. Because like if you got something that, like, let's say the meat was burnt on the sandwiches and no one could eat them, you would go back and say, they couldn't eat these. You have to take these off my bill. Right. You need to do the same thing if they're giving somebody, or if like they give a gluten-free box that's not gluten-free, then they have to eat that at that point.
Okay. So PSA, event planners that are watching this, she's got a fabulous point. I mean, and I always say in my teachings is like, you need to do follow-up. You need to call Kathy and say, hey, how was your meal? Because you want to know what their meals were like, to make sure that they got what they needed, especially if she was going to die, had an allergic reaction or something. But that also shows that, hey, you gave us a carrot or you gave us a sandwich with one piece of lettuce and 1 tomato. Don't pay for it. Okay, end of PSA. I think Kathy, that's a great recommendation.
Yeah, because and chances are the head chef, wherever you are, didn't have anything to do with it.
Probably
not. This is the only way they're going to know to train their people properly. So again, I didn't take that as a malicious thing towards me.
Right.
It's just, and it's an opportunity for you to train these people so they can be the best people for you to go to. The person I was talking about that has, a more strict diet, Chef AJ, she was doing a thing at a hotel, had it catered. So they do something SOFAS free. So it's for very specific people. So not only do they do vegan, no sugar, salt, oil, avocado, nuts, seeds, tofu, alcohol, there's a whole no flowers whatsoever. And she was able to successfully have them do that for 4 days, all meals. So if she can do that, they can do this. So it does take more effort on the planner's part. So I will say that, but what should happen from that is the people who do have food allergies should be much more loyal to you. You should also be talking to the chefs you're working with and making sure that you're letting other people know how allergy friendly they are.
Yeah.
Because because the more they understand how everything works and how it's going to bring them more business to do this, the more open they're going to be to that.
Yep. You preaching. Thank you very, very much. So there was a Facebook user that posted just before we got online, and I love this. 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Kathy's efforts of plant-based are examples of what individuals can support them. So no hunger, good health, and reduced inequalities. I'm going to post the links to each one of those so you guys can see what those are. But the UN Sustainable Development Goals are a 30-year goal until 2030 to reach these different platforms, and there's 17 of them. But plant-based eating impacts those 3 goals in and of themselves. So I think that's awesome. And I'll find those links and send them to and post them so everybody can see them. But here, actually, there's just one link and you can see all of them. Where's my mouse? Okay. And it's zero hunger, good health and well-being, and reduced inequality. And I want to talk about that because something you said just before we got on is this is reduced inequality that was within and among countries, but it was the good health and well-being statement says ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all ages. One of them was about disabilities. And food allergies are considered a disability. Oh, there it is. No, I don't remember which one it was under, but food allergies are a disability under the Americans with Disabilities Act, because eating was named as a major life activity. So making sure that we're all equal in what we're eating and what we're providing is really important when you're creating an event.
And that totally makes sense to me. And the thing is everything doesn't have to be expensive. Again, Beyond and the things like that, they're great substitutes, but they're expensive. So if you're asking, a hotel chef to use that, it's going to drive your bill way up. Whereas you probably could get a black bean burger, or you could help them give them a recipe they could make.
Right.
I want to jump back a little bit because you were saying what could they provide, and another thing that just is a great universal thing, and I've seen this. It was at the International Houseware Show, obviously not this year, but last year they did a blogger conference, and they had a beautiful quinoa salad.
Yep.
Which is a really great level playing field because meat eaters can eat it as a side. Gluten-free vegans can have it as their main course. So it had beans in it, it had vegetables, it had a nice light, not dairy or egg dressing. It was just like a vinaigrette of some kind. And I had salad that I could put that on salad. Other people could have put it on a sandwich or bread. There was just different things. So if you think of one thing that everyone could eat and like triple it, right? Because then, have that. And then if I have some hummus and some veggies to go with that, that's awesome if you're doing a buffet. But you can also do those in little cups and lunch boxes.
Yep.
Too. And I know not everyone's big on this, but I am big on that piece of fruit, especially not a pear that's crunchy, but like an apple or a banana, something that oranges are really hard to eat.
Yes, they are.
But something that someone can snack on later is super helpful, especially then if you're coming back out with a coffee break, it's probably going to have cookies.
Right.
That a lot of people can't eat. So and actually, if I remember correctly, they had gluten-free vegan cookies, I think, too.
Oh, well, wow.
They did a really good job.
And that was the Houseware Show?
Yeah, it's like several football fields of it in Chicago. It was huge.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. But the blogger conference was quite small. It was probably only a quarter of a giant ballroom, so it wasn't that many, maybe a couple 150 people maybe were there.
Well, I just posted, because you mentioned quinoa. I made this a couple of weeks ago or a couple months ago. Quinoa taco meat. Kathy, it tasted just like hamburger meat. It was amazing. And my mom and dad had hamburger meat and I made that. And it tasted just like a regular taco. It was awesome.
And there's actually, I just did a burger for the Idaho Potato Commission last week. It's a chili papita potato burger. And if you go to healthyslowcooking.com, you can get it. All the things on Healthy Slow Cooking are not slow cooking. It's just, that's how it started out 10 years ago.
Okay.
That's a hard one for people to get, but everything's vegan. But basically you cook some, and it's super inexpensive, talking about kind of leveling the playing field. It uses some dried guajillo chilies, but if you go to a Hispanic market near you, or they even have them at Harris Teeter, which is our high-end grocery store, and Food Lion, they're usually $3 a pound or less. Use a couple of those, boil it up with the potatoes, puree that, use a can of black beans, lots of spices, some ground flaxseed.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put in some pepitas. Most people I have found aren't allergic to pepitas, but if you were allergic for some reason, you could use another seed, or you could leave this, you could use a nut, or you could just add some extra flaxseed in instead. Uh-huh. But it adds a really nice crunchy kind of texture in there. They're super easy to patty out and you can freeze them up. Uh-huh. So you could do something like that, or even probably present a recipe like that, because whatever it's going to cost the hotel to make it, they're going to make money. They're going to make money on them.
And that's, there was a pastry chef I was talking to, oh my gosh, last year. And they had two vegan, and I've told the story before. So 2 vegan guests in the hotel for 3 days, and they couldn't eat in any of their restaurants. And so they did hey, we need to do something. And so now, and he was having so much fun doing vegan and gluten-free pastries so that those 2 customers and everyone else like them could stay into the hotel and enjoy. Just kind of, I guess you could assimilate it to companies who put company cafeterias in to keep their employees in the building.
Right. And I mean, if anyone needs an example, use Disney. There's not a place on Disney that you can't go and get something allergy friendly.
Yep.
No place.
Yep.
And they will go to extremes. And actually, if you go to the little ice cream parlor, you can get vegan ice cream, and they actually don't have it in there. They have it a different place. They go into the other place where it's completely allergy proofed.
Right.
So that no scoops get reused or anything like that. So to me, I think Disney's made themselves kind of a gold standard of allergy service. And if they can do it, there's no reason other places can't do some of it. Right. I don't need, personally for me, because I'm not going to die if a scoop was on dairy and not. But there are people it could very well injure to do things like that. Mm-hmm. And I think also having a conversation, an open conversation on what are your dietary needs, because lots of times I've been able to check vegan but not gluten-free. Doesn't help. And there was another conference that I won't mention the name. They tried to be super friendly, but usually they were doing things where they were like food trucks. And it didn't tell you what was what. So there's like 500 people trying to line up for this. And I don't know if I'm lining up for something I can eat at all. And most of the time it wasn't. It was either vegan or gluten-free.
Right.
And it was really
all the time. Yep.
Right. And I know that a couple of people didn't come back to that conference because they were like, I can't eat. I mean, luckily there were places around that we could eat, but the last time they did it, they tried to be a little more careful.
Mm-hmm.
So there were still some places that I think when you don't have those allergies, it's hard to understand.
Yes.
And so also, one thing I will say is if somebody doesn't ask me what my dietary requirements are, I assume that I've got to bring my soy milk in the morning. Mm-hmm. But if you ask me and I tell you I'm vegan and I'm gluten-free, I expect some kind of non-dairy milk.
Yeah, and there's a couple of hotels that I went to beginning of the year or the end of last year, and they had the milk or they had the cream near the coffee, and they were all 3 of them were in the silver canisters, but the labels were on the table. So you and I could pick up our bottle, the different ones that we were going to use, and then put them down, and we put them down behind the wrong sign. And then another property did it where it was written on the actual canister, which keeps it from becoming an issue if somebody drinks the wrong one. But you do have to ask those questions in advance and plan for that. But so one hotel, and we're over our 30 minutes, but the one hotel charged me $60 to have soy milk at the convention, because $60 a gallon. And I'm like, it's at Whole Foods on sale right now for, $3, $4. So can you just go to Whole Foods and buy it? They're like, nope, we have to buy it. specifically from our vendor. I'm like, and then another property, the breakfast, the vegan breakfast was $40 and the regular breakfast was $20. I'm like, what are you using? I'm like, I don't understand. And they were like seitan and making these fancy, really fancy vegan dishes. And I'm like,
and a lot of times they're going to be using stuff like Beyond Sausage.
right.
And I mean, Beyond Sausage is expensive as a consumer. You get 4 like bratwurst sort of things for $9. I mean, it's not a cheap product.
Right.
But the thing is I think that people think it has to be all one or the other. And it can be easier. And I think that has to do with you knowing what to order. I mean, ordering a tofu scramble and maybe having, asking if they could do like tempeh bacon.
Right.
Instead of doing like Beyond Sausage. I think that changes the game a lot. And I think if they'll work with you on recipes, like for instance, I have actually in every book I have a different sausage recipe. And like as I love talking about flavors, like I love flavors and sausage is one of them. So from the Outrageous book, I have steel cut oats that I cook and kind of spice up and dry out a little bit, and they're crumbles. So you can use them on pizzas, and you can make pepperoni crumbles from them. And they're and so you can kind of look at that too, like because I think last year I made a potato oat sausage, breakfast sausage with chia seeds. I think. So if you can give them some recipes, maybe help.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Probably, yeah. So, and actually in the gluten-free vegan cooking in your Instant Pot, which is the book that came out earlier this year.
I have that.
I didn't do a sausage, but I did veggie dogs. So, because one of the things is like a lot of times it's either all soy and kind of processed, and this is like mashed beets and potatoes and carrots and different vegetables with some gluten-free flours that then you steam like you would seitan. So for those of you who don't know what seitan is it's wheat gluten. So back in the 70s, people used to take whole wheat flour and they would rinse it until there was just this gluten-y stuff. Now we buy powdered wheat gluten and we just mix it with water because we're awesome now. But it makes a very meaty texture.
Okay. And I just added the link to all of your cookbooks, 11 cookbooks. All right. So I'm going to say we're at 3 minutes. So we're going to stop at 45. One of the things that you do that we haven't talked about yet, and we've got meeting planners listening to this. Go ahead. You okay?
Yeah, you keep talking. I'm going to not cough on you.
You do online cooking demos and cooking classes. So, and I know in a couple of posts, different Facebook groups, people were talking about that because people are doing that. Can you tell us about what you do and how best to do that with the attendees?
There's a lot of different ways you can do it. I can tell you how right now I run my classes through a class platform called Podia, Podia. There are a bunch out there. There's Teachable, Simplero, Thinkific, Kajabi. There's all these different ones and reasons to do these or versus those. Podia gives you a little bit of email capabilities. It also lets me set up webinars so that I tape my classes live.
Okay.
So I want audience participation. I want people asking me questions. I think that makes a class so much more valuable. And especially then I'm there right there for everyone to answer it. And I think that's a little easier than looking through threads. So I can hook that up through Podia. I schedule it ahead of time. People pay through Podia. Then I just come on, I do my class, I download it, I put it over on the Podia under the course along with the recipes. And then I sell it ahead of time, but then I also sell it after it's been recorded. People can still buy it.
But they can hire you to do a cooking class for that, have a group of people listen in. Yeah. Okay.
Sure. And I would prefer to do that online than in person. I've done them in person a couple of times. And usually if people are buying you for their friends, they're not listening to anything. And honestly, I should have just sent some pre-made food over and let them have fun.
Yeah.
And it's not that I need complete
that's
attention, but they were just kind of getting drunk and doing their thing. And I'm like, that's fine, but I'm not a caterer, you know?
Yeah.
But doing it online, also, it allows everybody to kind of get together. So if somebody wanted to hire me to do a Zoom class, they certainly could. And we could do that and save it and things like that. Typically right now, I run 2 a month. I have a membership called Kathy's Cooking Club, which gets you access to all the classes. And it just recurs. It's like $50 a month. And then we get some bonus Zoom calls and things where they can ask me questions. Traditionally, classes cost $35 each. So, I mean, it's still not, I'm not trying to get every penny out of everybody. I want everyone to be able to learn.
Awesome. Okay, so to end this, because we're now at 12:45, what one final question? I'm going to post all of your links that you have, but who would you want to invite over for dinner? Who would you want to have dinner with?
Out of absolutely anybody, right?
Absolutely anybody.
Today, it would change day to day. But I think today it would be RuPaul.
Okay.
RuPaul is huge inspiration to me. And in fact, before I do lives and classes, a lot of times I listen to his music. Those of you who don't know, he's the reason you know what a drag queen is.
Yeah.
And in the 90s, he actually in drag did a MAC makeup campaign. So he's made history, and he does RuPaul's Drag Race. But I just find him so empowering. He's all about digging down deep to what you have and showing it to the world, you know. And I would love to talk to him and just learn. You know, he's just done so many things, and he's a marketing genius.
And do you know what he eats?
I don't know what he eats, but I'd feed him something really tasty. I do know he's from Georgia originally, so I think I can handle that. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you so much. I hope everybody got a lot out of this. And Kathy, we need to do something together and to teach more of this stuff about veganism, plant-based and vegan cooking. So I look forward to collaborating with you some more.
Oh, I would love to do that. And just a quick note before I forget is that also, if you guys are interested in starting to do live video yourself and trying to do some of that and you haven't, if you go to kathyhester.com, if you sign up for the newsletter, I give you a little cheat sheet on how to go live on Facebook on your phone so you can get started. And I teach some live video classes too. So
and I took your class in person and I loved it. And this is pre-COVID, of course. So yeah, I learned a lot. I hope as a student, I'm doing okay.
You're doing great.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay. And that's a wrap, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Eating at a Meeting. And Kathy Hester, author of 11 cookbooks and the easy, healthy slow cooking, .com.
Oh. Yeah, healthyslowcooking.com and plantbasedinstantpot.com are my food sites. So you're welcome to try some recipes there. You'll see vegan isn't so bad.
All right. Thanks. Until next time. Oh, and where's my mouse? I lost my mouse.